2 weeks before the 2021 Elimination Chamber show, Paul Heyman dropped the bombshell. Roman Reigns' contract specifies that he defend his championship at Elimination Chamber, but not in the Elimination Chamber. After Adam Pearce named Kevin Owens and Jey Uso as automatic qualifiers, 2 tag team matches were held to determine the other 4 men. When the dust settled, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, Daniel Bryan, and Cesaro were added to the match, with the stipulation made official that the winner will immediately face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Who will survive the Elimination Chamber? And will they stand a chance against the head of the table? It's time to rewind the Bloodline. As always, don't forget to acknowledge us. Put your ones up for us. Like and share the shows. Leave a comment. Tell us how we're doing and hit that subscribe button and turn the bell notifications on for when we drop new content. It is the best way to support and help the channel grow. But now, Goose, you know there's nothing more that I love than a gimmick match. But this one has me a little more skeptical than others because of these participants in this match. But how about you get us kicked off and get us started with this Elimination Chamber show?
We are at the Elimination Chamber, February 21st, 2021. The show starts with the spaceman style whirring with the bird's eye view of the chamber pods. We then get clips of Daniel Bryan hitting a knee, AJ, Jey Uso, Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan, Claudio, Sheamus, all of them just writhing in pain. And then we enter the voiceover.
Every journey has its obstacles.
As we get clips of the combatants with the chamber being constructed in and behind them
To break you down.
And then it continues on. Everything worth fighting for is right on the other side.
And now comes the big supercut of all of these big chamber spots. We get the Raw video telling us that Drew will defend the WWE title in the match and all the combatants will be former world champions. And we cut to Paul saying that Roman will defend at and not in the chamber.
Road to WrestleMania runs
Through the Elimination Chamber. And then it's another super cut of these big spots.
And now, WWE Network.
Elimination Chamber.
Which is really crazy because literally we talked about this 2 episodes ago that the network has been sold to Peacock. So what are they going to say whenever we move to Peacock? But we get the huge pyro and the piped in crowd is hot. Corey Graves says
That's what I'm talking about.
What a start. That's what I'm talking about.
And Michael Cole welcomes us into the Thunderdome and tells us that we have 2 Elimination Chamber matches tonight.
And we are starting with the Smackdown Chamber. Thank God. So we get the rules graphic at the beginning, surrounded by stills of all the competitors. KO's music hits first, and Michael Cole tells us that for the very first time in his career, Kevin Owens will enter an Elimination Chamber match.
Sami is out next, and Cole tells us no conspiracy here. Sami Zayn will not start the Elimination Chamber, and Sami gets into the next pod, and the ref kicks out Sami's documentarians. Sami is just screaming.
Look at the match hasn't even rung in the
He's a treasure, man. He is. So King Corbin is out next. And meanwhile, Sami's just complaining the entire time about his camera crew being gone and the injustice that has befallen him this whole time.
Sami is screaming, and I was dead. I died at that. But the last man in the pod is Jey Uso, and Jey walks into the chamber, and KO is smashing his head into the plexiglass over and over. And Jey is barking at everyone as he takes his way around the ring, and he takes his jacket and chain off as he enters his pod.
Michael Cole tells us that now we know that Cesaro and Daniel Bryan will be leading us off in the chamber. We get back to another hype video, which was really weirdly placed. I didn't understand this, but I am glad we did, dude. This was a good one. So we got some retro clips from the chamber, with Paul's voiceover saying whoever survives the brutality of the Elimination Chamber will receive a championship match against Roman Reigns.
For all those 6 men, here is a chance at loyalty, transcendence, the validation, righteousness, power, and vengeance. And for the man who conquers the Elimination Chamber, he awaits. And then we get Roman saying he is the main event. This is my island, my WWE.
And if you want it, come and take it from me.
And after that clip, we get the Swiss Cyborg, and no one is hotter in WWE than Cesaro, says Michael Cole. And I do need to note here that we were wondering, where did this come from and how did this happen? I did a little Observer digging, listened to some old Observer radios, and Cesaro was actually pegged to be the man that ran wild and turned babyface in the Shinsuke spot in that gauntlet match.
Okay.
What happened was there was a contract impasse, and so they gave that spot to Shinsuke, and basically afterwards, what they did was just picked right back up with Cesaro. So we went from heel to all of a sudden mega push babyface, and we had no music between the notes. We literally just went from bullet point to bullet point, and that's why. And that makes a lot more sense.
Okay. All right. It makes sense. It just felt weird.
And that's why, is because his big turn was supposed to be during that gauntlet match, and it never happened. He was given to Nakamura instead. So Graves is talking about the epiphany that Cesaro has gone through, which is just a really cheap way to backfill a very sudden face turn, in my opinion. But nonetheless,
we start off hot with the tag partners, Cesaro and Bryan. We get a shoulder tackle by Cesaro. He goes for the quick cover. And then the two run the ropes, and Cesaro hits a backbreaker and gets a near fall on Bryan. All I need to say is that I hate Cesaro's gear. It just looks like he's wearing underwear and not wrestling tights. The design looks like ass. It's bothering me here.
Dude, Bear Bryant. That was what I thought when he came out. I was like, hey, where's the bear? Alabama, baby. So Cesaro hits an uppercut, throws Bryan into the ropes, and now it's time for Bryan to do his running flip over the turnbuckle. He takes control with some strikes, kicks, and then a knee from the top after hitting a back body drop onto the steel onto Cesaro.
And Bryan hits a shotgun drop kick, and then Bryan sets Cesaro up and goes for a Hurricane Rana. Cesaro counters, picks him up and puts him into the powerbomb position, but Bryan leverages it and gets him over, and Cesaro then cuts off Bryan with a lariat. Bryan works in an armbar, Cesaro powers up, and Bryan rolls through. He cinches in an armbar, and he starts some joint manipulation. Cesaro rolls out, and now he and Bryan are trading uppercuts.
Yeah, Bryan starts selling the leg. Cesaro picks up Daniel Bryan for a delayed vertical suplex. He takes a Swiss stroll around the ring and then drops him down for 2 while the countdown is now on. And our first competitor into the ring out of the pod, King Corbin.
And I wanted so badly to hit the fast forward button on this. I just wanted to skip right on ahead. I did not want to see any more Corbin.
You know what, dude? I share that sentiment because we've been trapped in this Corbin prison for so long. But he ran in here, grabs Cesaro, immediately drives him into the pod, starts wailing on him with rights, and then he grabs Bryan. He starts roughing him up with the steel. He then gives Cesaro a hip toss into the ring, and then they go back and they show a slow motion shot of Corbin just potatoing Bryan in the temple. And I was just thinking, well, at least this guy doesn't have severe head trauma that made him retire for a couple of years.
Back in the ring, Bryan is hitting running drop kicks to Corbin and Cesaro, and then Cesaro starts hitting running uppercuts to the corner on both of them. Cesaro then runs into a deep 6, and then Corbin gives one to Bryan, and we get near falls on both men.
Corbin now takes Bryan to the outside, picks him up over his shoulder, drives him knee first into Sammy's pod, and Cole hits us over the head now, saying,
The knee is now becoming the story.
Hey, thanks for the subtly, Michael. So Corbin then drives Cesaro into the pod, picks Bryan up, and drives him knee first into another pod. So now we are really working over the extremities here.
Corbin then grabs Bryan's knee and twists and wrenches it around the post. He starts trash talking to Jay, who is sitting crisscross applesauce in the pod. Corbin and Bryan are back into the ring, and Corbin hits Bryan with a back suplex for 2. Cesaro rolls in, starts throwing hands at Corbin. Corbin gives Cesaro a few big, sexy knee lifts into the gut, and then goes back at Bryan. tying him in the tree of woe as the countdown starts again.
I did pop for that, man. All it was missing was just the hair flip in between. He was just bringing them knees right up into the gut. So it stops on Sammy, and he immediately shuts his own pod, and he's yelling at Corbin to stay away. Bryan then runs in from the side and nails Corbin, and now Zayn is taunting Corbin from inside the chamber, but there's another way in, and from behind, Cesaro comes in and just thrashes Sammy around the pod. He nails Sammy with uppercuts, and Sammy is now on spaghetti legs.
Sammy is able to throw Cesaro into Jay's pod to cut him off, but Bryan comes in, he hits Sammy with some kicks, and then repeatedly throws him into the steel. Sammy ragdolling between the ropes, and the cage was awesome. I loved it here.
Dude's a bump machine, man. And again, I feel so bad watching this with 2025 eyes.
Yes.
Because I despise the character so much and I did not appreciate the gem that this man was. I mean, he's great.
Yes.
So Sammy manages to get Corbin into the pod, shoulder first, and now everybody's down but Sammy. So Bryan gets himself up and he's now propped up against Owens' chamber. He baits in Sammy. Sammy misses a haluva kick and smashes into Owens' pod.
Back in the ring, Corbin is up and he gets Bryan perched on the top. He hits DB with a superplex from the second rope. Back to the outside, Sammy hits Cesaro with a tornado DDT, rolls him back in, and he gets a 2 count. And Sammy is now the only man up again. He runs around to the outside for Cesaro, and Cesaro lifts him on top of Jay's pod.
And Sammy's now stuck up there like a literal scared cat. Like just one that got to the top of the refrigerator, doesn't know how to get down. What do I do? And so Cesaro now climbs up and he starts wailing on Sammy from the top of the chamber with uppercuts. Sammy tries to fight back. He hits a thumb to the eye to cut Cesaro off. And then the two start climbing across the chamber like Super Mario scaling the fence in Ludwig's castle in Super Mario Brothers, dude. It was incredible. What a visual. He just needed to punch a Koopa.
Yes. So Cesaro starts hitting Sammy face first into the steel. Cesaro grabs the top of the chamber and he kicks Sammy off, and then he starts doing pull-ups.
That's a baller move, dude.
Cesaro climbs down and into the waiting arms of King Corbin, who drops Cesaro across the ropes and then catches and chokeslams Daniel Bryan.
Cesaro then gets up. He starts throwing uppercuts. He runs the ropes, avoids a choke slam by Corbin, and throws Corbin shoulder first into the post. Cesaro then climbs to the second rope. He hits a diving uppercut and then gives Corbin the swing and then the sharpshooter. Baron Corbin immediately taps. However, we are now 33 minutes and 26 seconds into the show, and we have our first fall.
That first fall felt like it started to take forever. I was starting to get irritated a little bit. I'll tell you that.
It did. That's 33 minutes of showtime, not of match time. We should be clear.
So as that's happening, the countdown is on between Jay and KO, and KO's chamber opens, and Sammy is immediately pleading with KO to do this together.
We have a history. They're not like us.
They don't want us. We're not the poster boys.
Let's do this together.
And KO immediately grabs Sammy, throws him face first from pod to pod.
Excellent. It couldn't have been any better.
No.
It was great. He's the best geek, man.
Yes.
So KO then starts wailing on Daniel Bryan, and then he hits him with the released German. Cesaro and Kevin Owens are now trading blows in the middle of the ring. KO goes for a backslide. Cesaro rolls over the top. KO hits a step up enziguri, and Bryan then jumps onto KO's back for a sleeper. Owens then drops Bryan back first onto a prone Cesaro. The fall away senton for a great near fall.
And as this is going on, Sammy climbs to the top. KO cuts him off, has him in the superplex position, and Sammy starts biting Kevin Owens. The two roll off, and KO hits Sammy with a super kick. And everyone is down. It's just KO standing tall. Owens hits cannonball rolls into Cesaro, then to Bryan and Sammy. It is Cannonball City.
Owens then looks at Jay. Sammy gets up and hits a dragon suplex onto Owens. Cesaro gets up and hits an uppercut onto Zayn. And then Bryan gets up and hits the Psycho knee onto Cesaro. Owens then hits the pop-up powerbomb onto Bryan. And we have a quadra down after a big finisher spam.
Owens is up. Sammy tries to beg him off, and Owens picks him up. He gives him a neck breaker for 2. He grabs Daniel Bryan, pump handle neck breaker to him for another 2 count. Owens now turns to Cesaro. He picks him up into the fireman's carry, and Cesaro slides out as the final countdown is on. The buzzer sounds, and Jay's door opens.
And Kevin Owens goes right for him. He immediately throws him into the cage twice, grabs him by the hair. He rubs his mouth into the fence. He then grabs Jay, throws him headfirst into a pod. KO enters the pod. He's now choking Jay with his boot. Jay then gets up. All 4 men then throw Owens into the ring, and Jay and Daniel Bryan are now paired up, as is Cesaro and Sammy. And all this is going on, and Kevin Owens starts his ascent to the top of a pod.
As KO gets all the way to the top, he hits a moonsault on all 4 of them. I was expecting him to do a swanton again like he did in the Royal Rumble match, but a moonsault from Kevin Owens?
Great spot, man.
So KO gets up, he hits a stunner to DB, stunner to Cesaro. Sammy misses a haluva kick. KO hits a stunner on him, and Sammy is eliminated at the 41-minute mark of the show. So as Sammy is leaving, the chamber door is open. KO falls into the opening as Jay closes the chamber door, and he pins Owens' arm.
Yeah, Owens is trapped in the door, and Jay is just smashing him with super kicks. They open up the door. KO falls back into the chamber. Jay throws him into the ring, nails KO with the super kick between the ropes, goes up to the top, hits an Uso splash onto Kevin Owens for the pinfall. And then we had no falls for the first 35 minutes of this show, and now we have 2 in the last 2 minutes.
I agree, but I also love that this is the way that Jay was able to at least get 1 pinfall so far in this match, was because he had to use the chamber. He just can't beat anybody by himself. We've been talking about this the entire way through the story so far. Jay only wins by weapons. Now he's using the environment. So I really like that they're keeping the continuity of that, and it fit perfectly with the story. So Jay is now attacking Daniel Bryan's knee. Cesaro is on the outside of the ring. Jay runs the ropes to hit him with the dive. Cesaro cuts Jay off with an uppercut. He goes to the top and he hits a flying elbow. Jay kicks out at 2.
That spot was almost as unexpected for me as the moonsault. I wasn't ready to see him go all Macho Man from the top there.
Ooh, yeah.
So Jay is now on the outside. Cesaro jumps over the top and hits a stomp. He then picks Jay up and does the swing, but it is into the fence and into the post. This was awesome.
Yes.
Bryan then tries to dive onto Cesaro. Cesaro catches him, throws him into the ring, goes off the top, and is met by Bryan's boot.
All 3 men are now down. Bryan and Cesaro are trading blows in the middle. Cesaro throws Bryan back into the ropes. He goes for an uppercut. Bryan gets him into a backslide. Cesaro kicks out. Bryan nails him with a kick to the head for another 2 count. Bryan is firing up as Graves is saying that Bryan feels like he failed himself by not winning the Rumble. And Cole says, we've now been in the chamber for over 30 minutes, and it's felt like an hour. Like, can we go home already?
Not quite, though. Not quite.
I'm so tired of this match. Like, can we just get to the finish already?
And the bad thing is, dude, it's picking up. And that's the unfortunate thing, is that it wasn't even a slog. It was just regular for like 20 minutes. And by this time, yeah, dude, it is wrap it up time, especially because in real time, show time, we are 45 minutes into a 2-hour and 45-minute show. This is a third of the show already, man. And we still got 2 more falls to go. So Bryan is now kicking Cesaro's head in. He then perches in the corner and starts the yes fingers. He runs in for the knee. Cesaro gets Bryan up for the rack. Bryan slides out. He cradles him for 2. Daniel Bryan then hits another kick to the side of the head. He scales the ropes as Cesaro is down. Cesaro runs in, hits an uppercut, and then another. He gives Bryan a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th. He climbs to the top, gets Daniel Bryan on his shoulders in a fireman's carry, and gives him a gorilla press and then a gut buster across the knee from the top rope. Brutal spot.
Yes. Oh man, that was a great spot. But he grabs Bryan's bad knee. He gives Bryan a one-legged swing, and Jay smashes Cesaro with a super kick. He hits Cesaro with an Uso splash, and he pins Cesaro. Jay then runs to the opposite corner. He goes to the top, hits Bryan with an Uso splash, and Bryan kicks out at 2. And I'm here thinking, thank goodness, or end it, or I don't know, but I couldn't believe. I thought Jay was going to run wild here and win again.
Right. And again, just like you said, dude, let it be over or don't. I don't know. Like this is a weird purgatory spot in the match. So Jay's now looking around. Bryan's in the middle. Jay grabs him closer to the turnbuckle. Jay now starts scaling the fence. He goes up to the top of the pod. He goes for an Uso splash from the top of the pod, but Bryan gets the knees up. So Bryan then gets up. Jay's reeling. He nails Jay with the Psycho knee. It hits the pinfall. And brother, that was an awesome finish.
Yes.
But it seemed really rushed after a match that felt like it just went forever.
It took way too. I love the finish. I just wish they would have cut the first 20 minutes off of the match because it didn't matter.
A little bit of Titan time with that, with the pods.
So the piped in yes chants are going wild, and Bryan has not moved since pinning Jay. The chamber is now slowly rising as Bryan is face first on the canvas.
Pull it together. Well,
Roman raises the belt, the pyro goes off, and Roman and Paul are making their way to the ring.
Roman got the gold gauntlet on, even for the scraps, man. Bless this guy. So as he's coming down, Graves is kissing up, saying that Roman's a fighting champion who wants to defend the title, and the onus is now on Daniel Bryan to seize his opportunity. So Roman then hands the belt to Paul. He walks through the ropes, and Daniel Bryan's just trying to stand up.
The ref asks Bryan if he's ready. The bell sounds. Roman runs in, and Bryan immediately catches a charging Roman, and he puts him into the yes lock.
but is he? Roman Reigns. Oh my God! Daniel Bryan. Oh my God!
This was the exact right start to this match.
Yes.
This was absolutely perfect.
Yes, and it was perfect because Bryan's already warmed up. He's already been in a match, so he's already expecting anything, especially being in the chamber.
And it's his only chance.
Yes.
He's also on his last leg.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Been there, not already, but literally he's just a scotch tape and toothpicks at this point in time.
And Roman literally goes full psycho now. He powers out and he just starts beating on Bryan mercilessly. And he beats him. And he beats him. And he beats him. And he picks up Bryan and he power bombs him into the mat. He then gets on top. He starts beating on him some more. Bryan is not moving at all. Roman then picks him up. He puts Bryan into the guillotine choke, and it's over. I couldn't believe that's how they did Daniel Bryan here.
Roman gets on the ropes. He raises the belt. And as he's getting down, Edge out of nowhere runs in and hits a spear.
Oh my God! Spear! That's Edge!
He points to the sign, puts his hands behind his back. He whispers some sweet nothings to Roman. And as Roman writhes, Edge points to the sign. And there is Mania sign pyro going off in where the crowd would be.
And I thought that the whisper to Roman was really important because last week Roman whispered something to Edge. We don't know what that is, so we're going to find out here in the later weeks. I cannot wait for that. But man, the Thunderdome is just different. Metalingus is playing, and I guess we're going to WrestleMania.
Yes, sir. Dave Meltzer gave this match 4.25 stars in the Observer. The official match time was 34 minutes and 8 seconds. Roman beat Daniel Bryan in 1:33. And for that match, Dave said, and get ready for this, the decision was made to put Roman Reigns over strong since he's in the Mania main event and not do a good match or protect Daniel Bryan. That said, for 93 seconds, it was really well done. And I actually think that it was.
I agree. I just wasn't expecting it to be over in 93 seconds. I was expecting them to go for like 5.
Yeah, spoiler alert. This guy is going to be in this match, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Elsewhere on the show, since it is WrestleMania season, we are setting up for Priest and Bad Bunny versus Miz and Morrison. Riddle won the U.S. title in a 3-way, beating Morrison and not Lashley. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler beat Bianca and Sasha to retain their women's tag belts. And after Drew McIntyre wins the Elimination Chamber, The Miz cashed in his money in the bank after Lashley killed Drew and walked out of the show as champion.
I don't know how he even has the money in the bank. I still saw him cash it in at TLC. I know that I saw it.
We literally talked about it here on the show.
So that was it, man. Something bad to something good. So, John, tell us what is on your island of relevancy this week.
So this week for the Island of Relevancy, I am putting Sami Zayn on it because, one, he deserves it. He has been doing such good work in the lead up to this Elimination Chamber. And I love where he's looking at Kevin Owens saying, we have history, and that only gets deeper in this story.
He was a very, very unsung hero in that match. He was awesome, dude. Great pick.
Yes. So that is what is on my Island of Relevancy this week. Goose, who are you tossing into the ocean of obscurity?
Unfortunately, I'm throwing Daniel Bryan into the ocean, and here's why. This dude won't win or be competitive in anything on the big stage, and he's on the creative team, and that's why he won't win anything, because he does right by other people. Unfortunately, I want to see you do good, Daniel Bryan.
And I agree.
You know what I'm saying? You can't, if everybody beats you all the time, when everybody beats you, it doesn't matter as much. Do you know what I'm saying?
When you put Daniel Bryan in a match with Jey Uso, he's like 3-0 right now, minus that time he was stretchered out.
Right. But we saw him lose to Cesaro in 4 minutes. Yep. We just saw Roman Reigns beat him in 93 seconds. Tough times for Daniel Bryan.
So that was part 19 of the Bloodline Rewind. That was WWE Elimination Chamber 2021. We are coming back next week with the fallout of the Elimination Chamber as we get ready for one last stop before WrestleMania, and that is Fastlane. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. It's the best way to support the channel. It helps us grow. And with that, I'm Johnny Bake Show.
I'm Teddy Mongoose.
And we just called it in the ring.